Well, I was given away as a kid into foster care, and so it impacted me massively. The very beginning years of life were years where I essentially didn't feel like I mattered very much. You know, it's not something where you go into it going like I like this situation. It's wondering why my mom doesn't want me around and my siblings around. It's wondering why I'm in this situation, wondering why people are treating me poorly. So yeah, the years of my life in the beginning were not good. Statistically, I shouldn't be doing very much, man. If you go by the numbers of what it is, you know, I shouldn't be educated. I shouldn't. I should be borderline be homeless, and I possibly should be in jail. Yeah, that little monster kept running around saying, "I got to find a way to show that I'm good enough." And so I wanted to find something to fill that hole and check that box. It was just honestly, I got addicted to the desire of what it would look like to be better. I didn't know how much that is developed in the dark. It's developed in the unseen, unsexy, arduous, hard, break your back work that nobody celebrates. Nobody sometimes supports. They think you're crazy, you're delusional. What are you doing? But you do it day in, day out. When you don't want to do it, you have to fight yourself to get it done. And what happens, you develop this chip on your shoulder that has a mentality like I had when I was 15, which is I have done too much work in the dark for you to take what is mine in the light.
Anthony, welcome to the Never Fully Heard podcast. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, no problem, man. Thank you for having me. I'm up early in the morning. Not that early in the morning. I'm ready to rock and roll, though. You're the first human being besides my family I've talked to today, so it's a good thing.
I appreciate it. Where I want to start is going back to the real early years. So, do you mind describing your experience with foster care and how it impacted you?
Yeah, man. I was given away as a kid into foster care, and so it impacted me massively. The very beginning years of life were years where I essentially didn't feel like I mattered very much. You know, it's not something where you go into it going like I like this situation. It's wondering why my mom doesn't want me around and my siblings around. It's wondering why I'm in this situation, wondering why people are treating me poorly. So yeah, the years of my life in the beginning were not good. They were formative. They kind of hardened me a little bit. And to be honest, I could have gone down a pretty bad path. The majority of us foster kids do, unfortunately, but I was one of the few that was able to kind of break free of that direction and actually create something cool in my
Do you
life.
mind just giving some of the statistics I've heard you mention before about the impact that foster care can have on people?
Yeah, yeah. Well, half of the homeless population has spent time in foster care because when we get turn 18, we usually what's called age out, which means that no one's getting a check for us anymore. So if you're not getting a check to take care of these kids, most people don't want to take care of the kids. And so we were kind of, thrust out. I think less than 1% of us will graduate from college. There's, 400, 500,000 foster kids. And 75% of prison inmates in American prisons are former foster kids. So statistically, I shouldn't be doing very much, man. If you go by the numbers of what it is, I shouldn't be educated. I shouldn't. I should be borderline be homeless, and I possibly should be in jail. Yeah.
I mean, those are just so harrowing, those statistics. And going forward, what holes did you feel that left in your emotional environment that you felt that you needed to feel or heal going forward?
I don't know if the time I felt was anything specific. It was when I got older. When you get older, you start wondering why it is I can't take a thank you, and really have a received appreciation. I think because you don't in your head think you deserve it. I don't know if there was stuff that had to do with like a lack of love. I had my last current foster home had good loving family. We didn't have very much money or anything. We were kind of poor, but we did have love in that aspect. And so there's that. But I think there definitely was I have to prove something to the world mentality. When you are removed from situations where you feel you belong and you can't figure out why, your thought is like, I got to improve. And so for me, it was trying to find out where and how and what does it look like. And so I spent a lot of my years trying to fill a hole of I'm good enough. That's kind of the common one. A lot of people, they have a thought running in their head of I'm not good enough. I must not be good enough. I had proof, I guess, from my mom that I wasn't good enough. So I think there was that little monster that kept, running around saying, I got to find a way to show that I'm good enough. And so I wanted to find something to fill that hole and check that box.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing because I mean, I haven't experienced it myself, but the way you describe it must have been just so tough at the time.
Yeah, it sucks.
Um,
Yeah.
what did you overhear in Mr. Howe's English class when you were 15? That was
It's, yeah, Mr. Howell. Yeah, it's a good one, man. So Mr. Howell has the English class, obviously, and he's a teacher. And so I had this moment in time where you have to place the setting. If you don't set this up, it won't make sense. But at this time, I'd gone through 2 years of playing tackle football. I was not good at it. I couldn't play until I was 14. So it's 14 years old, 15 years old. Not good at the game, but had a desire to play. And we all have these moments. We all have a desire at some point to do something that's new and nuanced that we're not good at. And so I jumped in and did it. And I was like, I don't like this anymore, mostly because I wasn't good. And so I had this moment where I was checked out. I'd already given up the game. I was like, I'm done. I'm not going to do very much. And then I was sitting in a classroom and these girls were talking and they had no idea I was listening to them. I was like halfway asleep. I had a black jacket over my head. And I'm just sitting there. And this one girl says to the other girl, well, the reason I'm so bad is because I'm in foster care. And at face value, it's like, okay, not big. But really what it was somebody saying my excuse for playing small out loud. And when you finally hear somebody say an excuse that your brain goes, oh, that's a weird one. Like that's not good enough, then you kind of wake up. And so I remember I woke up is the best way to explain it. And I go, I don't want to be that guy. And that was the catalyst to me. If I can go back as far, that was the first catalyst to me becoming who I am. A lot of ups and downs along the journey, obviously. But that was the first one that put me in the direction of I gotta find a way to be great. And I sought a way and found a way. And the first one was football.
And was it in the moment you decided that you no longer wanted to play small and you didn't want to? Was that kind of an immediate emotional reaction, or was that kind of developed over time?
I think it was something that happened. I was looking in the mirror. I was at my house and I was like, I want to be great. And so it was immediate decision after hours of meditation. Now, I'm not talking about meditation at 15 years old in my, kind of, we'll call it lower socioeconomic status high school. Like I wasn't floating around, but I was just thinking about it. I just sat in my head all day long. And I remember going home, like, I don't want to feel this way. Like this isn't the energy that I want to have. I don't want to have this thought for my life. And so that was that moment where I went home and it was a decision that moment that then turned into what do I do? And I started a journey, man. And it was one of those like everybody else's journey. You start it and it's like, oh, I don't want to say excited to start it, but you're committed to starting it. Emotionally you're in. And then what really happens is you get challenged at some point in time to see if your emotions are the only thing driving you. And if they are, you have to lean into something else, which is our common knowledge is discipline. And for me, somehow at that age, with no examples of it, I was disciplined. I do, however, think I had a little bit more emotion that was pent up that I could use as fuel from maybe my childhood or my desire not to be, the guy that was doing crazy. But there was a little something more there. But I drove a lot off of it. And it was just honestly, I got addicted to the desire of what it would look like to be better. I didn't know how much better, but I was like, I got to keep putting time and energy. And the more I put in, the better things got. And it was just a progression uphill from there.
And did that start off as almost like you were trying to prove people wrong, or you were trying to prove, um, yeah, people wrong that you were going to be something that you were good enough? Was it that energy that was driving in the beginning?
No, no, you know what it was? People go, well, what made you believe you could do great? I think there was no belief I could do great. If I'm being transparently honest, there was not this belief of like, I'm going to be great at this. What it was I believed that if I did nothing, I don't end up in a place I want to end up. Is that purely simple logic? And I go back, I try to go back in that young guy's head without having the filter of my old man brain, and I go, what was he thinking? And really it was like, well, if I don't do anything, nothing changes. So I better do something. And so if I'm gonna do something, I should do something in the direction of what helps me be better at the thing I want to be better at. And that was it. And I think we're all looking for this I guess, security, this knowledge, this guarantee that if I do this, I'm gonna get a return, and realistically, that doesn't exist. It cannot be the driver because you will at some point in time be shown that it's not the thing. Now, it doesn't mean that it's never gonna be the thing. It just means that right now you might not be good at it. It might be difficult, it might be hard, but if you're doing it for the outcome, you'll never stay down the path because the outcome might come later than you wanted to. And so for me, the outcome was something I wasn't worried about as much. I just knew if I do this today, it could change. And so I would do it that day.
It's so powerful. One thing I noticed in myself and other people is like, it's because they fear the failure, or I've feared the failure, that it's
Mm,
easier to not play big because then you can go, oh, it was never going to happen anyway. Or it's,
yeah, it's
I didn't want to put in the effort. I didn't want to get that success. It's a
yeah.
really weird thing. Yeah, it's one thing I'm struggling with at the moment.
It's not weird, it's normal. I think it's a normal thing, unfortunately. I do know that for me, my son does this, my youngest son, and it's frustrating because I wish he would just kind of snap out of it, but what he chooses to do is he likes to play in this realm where he's going to give just enough effort and that he's going to be joking. He's playful about everything. Everything's like, ha, ha, it's a joke. And I go, why is everything a joke? And I realize that for him, when it gets uncomfortable and it's serious, because of that space of emotional, like this is serious, he has to laugh it off to release the tension. And for me, I go, you can't keep releasing the tension, man. You can't keep trying because what happens is tension is what allows things to be held up. You want your dream to hold up, your life to hold up. You got to be able to enter tension filled situations and not try and dispel the tension of it. And for a lot of people, they do. They want to laugh it off, and they don't really settle in. It's like if somebody walks up and it's your teammate, and we're about to go into battle for I don't know a game, right? We're gonna play soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. It's like if somebody walks up and they go, "Hey, World Cup, game's on the line. I need you." Like if you look at them and they go, "Okay, yeah, I got you." You'd be like, "Bro, what are you doing? Wait, hold on. No, I need you to meet me at this level. I need you to look at me and understand like this is serious." And so for a lot of people, they life meets them in that moment, says, "Look, I need you to show up for yourself today. Dial in, anchor down, let's get to work." And a lot of people look at themselves and they go, "It's whatever. Yeah, we'll just maybe I make it, maybe I won't." And they play. It's playful, and I go, "No, it's not. Life can't always be playful. Sometimes you gotta lock in and go, I got this, and step up and be in that moment."
Mm. That is so. I get. I've as you're saying that, I literally remember moments where I've deliberately not played to my full ability because I know that then if I fail, it gives me an out. And that's happened so many times where I've looked to step up that I've given myself an out. I didn't play full out. I was.
It's tough, but I know what you mean, man. Some people do this, and it's not healthy. It's not a good thing, but yeah, man, happens.
What do the phrases dark truths and dark energy mean to you in all your work?
I think dark truths are the ones that we know exist, but we don't want to shine light on. There's something to the aspects of our humanity that is it's we know deep down the things that are going on, but as long as we cannot have to face them, we can distract ourselves. This is why a lot of people, I think, get to the point of, they get into drugs or women or partying or doing different stuff. And I think what ends up happening is they're doing this because it distracts them from having to face the truth of you're not a very good mom, not a very good dad. You're failing at your business. You're failing at your marriage, right? And so we distract ourselves. We watch the football games. We go drink the beers. We all these things. And there's a truth that we just don't want to shine a light on because to shine a light would mean we have to actually face it and fix it. And I don't want to fix it, so I'm not going to face it. So dark truths, I think, are things we all have somewhere tucked away. We find really good ways to distract ourselves from facing. And if we can just keep a band-aid on it and not have to fix it, like let it just kind of be there, we'll do that. It's easier for us to be able to deal with things that are different problems as opposed to the big one. Dark energy is something different though. Dark energy is something that you build, that you create. There's this work that I do in identity that is rooted in the basis of who we are as humans, and there's a level at which we come to the light and shine. Right, me and you are at this moment in time. In some way, we'll call it shining. Right, I may get in a stage. Someone may write a book. They might do a social media post. There's something where I'm going to show the world this is who I am, and my ability to shine, if it's a light bulb, is going to come from energy, and that energy is dark energy. We all want to be like it's joyous and powerful. I get that. But whenever I watch Kobe Bryant play the game, Michael Jordan play the game, whenever you watch Tom Brady play the game, he's not on the sideline going, "Come on, guys, yay!" No, it's like, "Hey, hey, let's go to work. Let's get down. We worked too hard for this. We put in too much work for this. We can't let this." There's this grittiness that just they tap into something deeper that's darker, and it's not a bad thing. It's just utilizing I think, a more powerful energy at times in the hard times. And so that is developed in the dark. It's developed in the unseen, unsexy, arduous, hard, break your back work that nobody celebrates, nobody sometimes supports. They think you're crazy, you're delusional. What are you doing? But you do it day in, day out. When you don't want to do it, you have to fight yourself to get it done. And what happens, you develop this chip on your shoulder that has a mentality like I had when I was 15, which is I have done too much work in the dark for you to take what is mine in the light. Because when that girl said that thing and I made that commitment, that's what I did. And fast forward 7 months, I was a monster at a football field because there was no way I'd done all this work and you were going to take what is mine. So that was dark energy for me coming forward at that time. It's the same now. If somebody comes to me and goes, "Man, you're not a great father," I go, "You know how much I've been doing in the background that you haven't seen to be a great dad. I get up every morning with my sons. I text my son every day when he's in college to make sure he's dialed in. I send him messages consistently. I've taken him to sports. I've been at the hospitals. I get up early. I take care of the sick kids. I sacrifice stuff that I want to do so they can do it. Like, you don't know what I've done in the dark. And so my dark energy will battle for myself in the moments that I need to battle. And you have to have that built up.
Man, that is, I've got the chills. That is, when you put, there's a line that you mentioned in a previous podcast that I really want to kind of make sure I get right. It was when you were training for NFL, it was like, you don't have the right to take this future from me because you had done that work. And it's when you, that mentality is so powerful when you know that you've made those promises with yourself and you've kept them day in, day out.
Mhm.
That is just,
We
that's
all do it though. The thing is, it's not. I think there's this thought that it's special to me. It's not. It's every single human being. There is 100% something that if somebody was to challenge you on it, that you would step up and fight for them to be wrong. You would fight for yourself. You would compete for that moment with conviction. I call it. And that conviction is not because you decided you wanted to have it. It's because subconsciously sometimes you can tap back into the wealth of understanding of how hard it was to develop that skill, how hard it was to get that win, how hard it was to actually succeed the way you did. And so when someone tries to take that from you, like, you fight tooth and nail. It's yours. I already earned that. And I think that's what's missing a lot of the times in today's, realm of work is everybody wants to shine. They all want to be the guy, the girl, the influencer, all that kind of, I want to have all this. So the world markets to them, hey, this is going to be quick and simple and easy and fast and no problems, effortless, right? And I can't remember any time in my past that I had something or have had something now where I hold it with the highest of value that came easy to me. My marriage, my body, my business, none of these things were easy. And while in my head I go, I wish it was easier from my physical standpoint, my soul does not wish that because my soul knows the value of it. My soul fights for it every day because it was hard. And so everybody can do this hard, dark work. Every soul on the planet can do this, but everybody wants to bypass it and wonder why they don't compete with conviction for what they want in life. And they watch everybody else living their life.
how do you not let the dark energy consume you though?
Well, it's not so much, in my opinion, that it consumes you from a standpoint of. I think if you have dark energy and it's riddled with the we'll call it anger, disdain, resentment, envy, that's a different kind of darker energy, right? I think that's the different kind. I don't think the dark energy can consume you if you're doing something of purpose that's in the light. Right, if you're trying to stay and do dark things, I think it'll get you. Like, if you're doing dark work to do dark things, like if I wanna rob a bank and I'm gonna spend all my time behind the scenes and sulking and getting good at picking locks and stuff, we might have a discussion about that consuming you. But if I'm saying I wanna do the dark work as a surgeon so I can save children, it's a whole different level. It's not gonna consume me. I need to do that because when it's 12 o'clock and all of a sudden a kid comes in because there's a car accident and his face is sliced open and I've been tired all day and I got to do this. I'm not gonna go, all right, guys, clap hands. We could do it. I'm gonna go, no, I'm settling in. Like, I've done this. I've been here. I'm half asleep. Someone give me some caffeine real quick. This kid needs me. Let's go to work. Like, there's a different. I have to tap into that darker energy. Without that, I'm not going to be the one that kid needs in a moment. And so I don't think it consumes you if you're doing something positive with this.
Quite a deep topic, but it's something that these thoughts of something that I've experienced myself and have definitely gripped me at times. And people go through these moments, right? Especially during COVID, they've lost a partner, they've lost a relationship, potentially a business. Negative after negative is piling on, especially around this Christmas period. So many people that have lost people,
Mhm.
lost businesses. Christmas time is a really tough time for them. Um, you've had your moments, when you came out of the NFL, the injury, you're having these tough moments in your relationship, your
Mhm.
fatherhood. Do you mind taking me back to, I guess, your rock bottom and just from my own experience and having gone through that, what was your rock bottom and how did you work through it?
Man, I've had a few. There's we'll call it the soul one, the one that was like, I don't want to be here right now. There's one of those ones, man. I had a whole lot going on in life. My marriage falling apart. My business was not doing well. I wasn't a good dad. Football was gone because I'd played in the NFL. And when you spend 13 years of your life doing something and then you wake up one day and realize I can never do that again, it takes a massive toll on your soul because you have to now determine like, well, what is the next step? I've already given all this energy and I've now nothing to show for it. Essentially, is your thought, you know. And I didn't know in the moment, while we can't do the thing, I still have the tools to do the thing, right? I still have the tools that could be applied somewhere else. If I have an amazing hammer, it might not be just to, I don't know, hammer nails. You know, there might be a use to remove nails, might be a use to hammer something into play, right? There's a different use for it. But in the beginning, it's like, I have no more nails. What do I do? And so I lost myself, man. I was trying to find a way to fill the gap in the hole, and I was gone all day long. My wife at the time had a couple kids. We had three actually. We had an oldest one, and then we had twins. So I had 4-year-old and twins that were like newborns. And just the marriage was falling apart. I realized one day like my life sucked. I didn't like it. I had a lot going on, and I was like, if this is life after the game of football, I don't want this. Like it's like if this is what I'm gonna have to experience for the rest of my life, I'm like, dude, I'm good. Cash my checks. I'm out. Let me go and exit this thing, right? And so in those moments, you start having to figure out like, is this the direction I want to go? Are we, still doing this? And then so like, yeah, I made some good choices not to do anything bad, and so I had to find a way now to make something useful of my life. I think that was the key is like, what's the next step to make something useful of this? And if I didn't do that, if we don't do that, then you start wondering why am I even here? And so for me in that rock bottom, what I did was like I kind of found ways to step out. One of the biggest things I did, to be quite honest, man, was I started talking to people. There's this, there's a mentality we have of like, I got to keep it close to the vest. No one can see me sweat. And I get it. I mean, I've lived that. I was the football guy, I had the ego, but it doesn't serve, doesn't help, doesn't make you a better person. If anything, it actually keeps you away from connecting with people who want to help you and also empowering yourself to do better. And so I started talking to people, man, and sharing things that weren't comfortable to share. But then in that, you get to find out, well, I'm not alone. People are experiencing this also. I'm not crazy. It's normal to feel this way. And you start getting little like nuggets of inspiration through like next steps. I think the problem was in those moments when it was all dark, I did not see next steps. Most of us don't see next steps. So if you can talk to somebody who has a different perspective, they can point some next steps out. You go, oh man, all right. And then you can step into that realm. And so that for me was like the bottom, and what got me out was humans, man, just having connections with other people.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. It's I remember being on a treadmill in the gym when you were describing the story for the first time, and because of my own
Mhm.
relationship with the topic and the events, it's the person next to me must have been like, why is this guy crying in the gym? But it was just so moving. And how how did your friends react when when they first heard about this? When they first you opened up to them about how much of a dark place you were in?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I think a lot of them. Well, first off, one of the guys was like, "Man, just so you know, like, there's a lot of people that care about you and love you more than you know." And I didn't, as much as you know, you don't know, if that makes sense. Like, there's an understanding to it, but I didn't really grasp the full depth of it. And so, there's that first piece of it. But I think the good thing was like they understood because a lot of them had gone through their own stuff, but no one had talked about it. I just happened to be in a more prominent light, and I didn't use a lot of things to distract myself. I'm not a big drinker. I'm not. I don't do drugs, and so where some people can float away into that, I didn't do that. Is the best way to explain it. And so I kind of found myself in a position where I was really just kind of leaning on people who gave me some insights on their experiences and not feel alone, if that makes sense.
And I guess for people going through these tough times right now, and they feel like their identity has been stripped away from them. They've lost a business, maybe they've lost a partner,
Mhm.
and how in those moments of extreme pressure do you maintain your identity?
Well, I don't know if it's maintaining your identity. I think you already have your identity. Your identity gets expressed. I don't know if there's like a so I believe that we are different in different situations, right? The way I am with you is different than the way I am with my kids, the way I am with my wife, the way I am with, my team, my clients. There's a different energy in every area. I'm expressing different parts of my identity. They overlap for sure, but there's different expressions. And so in those heightened situations, we're going to find out which one you express, right? And so you're actually you can only maintain your identity. I can't maintain your identity in that situation, right? I'm only going to be me, but I'm really going to find out that I may not be able to maintain the identity I have with my wife in a moment where I have some guy, yelling at me because we got in a car accident. There's going to be a different situation, I can't maintain that guy. I have to become the guy for this moment, right? And so in those moments, when you find out who you are, that's a moment to stop and pay attention and go, okay, is this the person I want to be in this moment? And if so, how do I give myself some alerts, reminders, some, we'll call it sticky notes to say, hey, next time something like this happens, don't do this, right? If something happens at a bar, right, and some guy bumps me and my current identity goes, well, you bumping me, and I punch him in the face, and then I get arrested and I go to I go to jail. Next time around, my identity better go, hey, bro, remember last time? Yeah, don't do that. And then so I can make tweaks and adjustments in similar situations in the future. But I don't know if we maintain the same identity. I just know we express it in different ways.
And when someone's trying to take themselves to the next level, right? This is something that I keep coming up against every time I try and grow as a person, grow as a man, grow in my skills in my job. I feel like I break through it for a second. I'll maintain it for a week, and then immediately, like, I'll miss one day, it will slip. And I feel like when I get into that identity of being in that next level of performance, I almost don't believe it.
Hmm.
I can't believe it. I can't maintain it. I can't make that mental shift. And it's just more comfortable for me to sit back and go, it's easier just to play at this level. And I'll start making excuses like, I don't need to make more money. I'm happy with the amount I'm earning. My life's at a good place. And I'll start making excuses for the reason why I'm not pushing myself to that next identity. How does someone, once
Yeah.
they push themselves to that next level, maintain that?
Well, I think the thing is you have to maintain it by the actions you take, to be honest. Like if you take an actions to get there, but I think there's one thing to maintain the level or to maintain the identity. And if the identity was an identity that was in process, it was in progress moving, is to maintain the movement. Right? There's a statement that goes, the first achievement is difficult, the second one is inevitable. And what's unique about it is the fact that the first achievement that you got was difficult because you had to do difficult things that were typically out of character, unconfident, uncomfortable actions. But in doing them long enough, you maintain this process to where your identity is the one that reached that achievement. And then what happens is, as long as you continue to be that kind of person, the next one inevitably happens. It's not as difficult because the things you have to do to get that, you keep doing. And so when you ask how do I do that, I maintain, it's just a matter of not so much maintaining the actions that have this, but maintain the actions of the identity. Did you get up early in the morning? Did you go get a workout? Did you make cold call phone calls? Did you follow up on emails? Did you cut out certain people? Did you not do drug? Like, what are the things you did that got there? And then you just do those things and you're good. And if you start falling away from those things, don't be surprised if your life falls back to where it was.
Mm. And I want to ask this question because it's something that I'm going through, and I know that a lot of people with the everything that's gone on, a lot of people are getting laid off, and I recently got sacked.
Yeah.
And I guess I thought I'd been doing everything right, and it was just unfortunate, whatever the circumstances were, that I've got sacked from my current job,
Mhm.
and it's been a struggle for me to maintain that level of trust in myself and belief in myself, that
Mhm.
to keep on doing the things, and to how how do you not second guess yourself in that moment?
Well, yeah, it's tough when you have other people involved, and one is you will second guess yourself. It's just the nature of it because something happened. The dynamics of life are so crazy because we try to have a control of certain things, yet in certain situations when we should have it, we throw it away and go, "Oh, I don't have control here." It's a weird thing how we work. So in something like this, I don't know your situation. I don't know if you were doing a good job, doing a bad job, if the money ran out for the company. I have no idea. What I do know is we're met with a situation that is real. I have no job. That's a real situation. Now I can go, okay, how am I going to choose to respond to the situation? This is not rocket science. People have heard this before. The problem is I think we're sometimes going, how do I respond to this? But I don't feel like doing this. And that becomes the biggest issue. It can't be based off how you feel. The reality of the situation is you got to do something. Yes, the emotions are real. You really feel them, but they may not really serve you. And so I like to separate myself from the emotion and go, all right, if I didn't know me and this happened to somebody else, what would I tell them from a non emotionally connected standpoint their next steps need to be? Right? Would it be go have some interviews? Would it be to, develop a new skill? What would it be? And then whatever that is, I do it, even though I don't feel like doing it. That's the difference between winners and losers, success and lack of success. It's just because we all have the same emotions. Everybody does. They have this, these things happen. We have sometimes relatively higher or lower responses to it based on our experience of life. But the truth of the matter still stands that we all feel a certain way. And so many people become slaves to their emotions that they do not get to experience a great life because they get stuck in that funk for far longer than they need to. So for me, I'll feel things and I'll have it go on and I'll go, this sucks. But then I go, all right, what's on my calendar? All right, let's do it. And I find a way to step in. It's not faking it. I'm controlling myself in a manner. And here's the interesting thing is actions lead emotions. People go, you're going to just step into that thing and do that and not even, well, here's the thing. In action, I got sacked, led to the emotion, right? So if I want to feel differently, I have to find a new action. Either I do it or someone does it for me. Because if I got fired here and someone calls and goes, hey, you're hired, I go, oh, feel good, right? You probably spend half a day feeling like, funky. I got a new job. I'm good. Let's go to the new one, right? Because an action took place. But if someone doesn't do the action for you, well, we must do the action. We must go seek, go find. We have to go and enter into something. So that what happens is when I'm in this motion, it's hard to think about the other thing. It's like if I'm, say, I had a bad day, right? People go shoot hoops, they go, ride motorcycles because their brain is actively engaged in something else. You can't be doing two things at once. And so what it really is doing is it's pacifying and shutting down the other part because I got to focus on this right now. It's me, it's you, it's a ball in front of me. Where's the basketball? Where's the hoop? Block, sweat. Oh yeah, I did get fired. Like after it all, like that's when it comes in. When you sat down, you're chilling, it kind of rushes back into your brain. So I go, all right, what actions can I do to not feel this? And then if you want to make sure it's a job thing, what actions can I do to get me a new job so I don't have to have that be my reality still? And so it's just a matter of stepping back up and going, all right, regardless of how I feel, what do I got to do?
Oh, yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. And have there been any moments in recent times that have knocked you off? I mean, because at the moment it seems like everything you're killing life. I mean, this has been an epic podcast so far, but is there anything that even knocks you off and that you've had to handle?
Always things, dude. I mean, we're running a whole new process and growth of a brand new, we'll call it a direction of the brand, right? I just today, matter of fact, just moments ago, got the final logos for the dark work branding, right? So there's this whole new trajectory because this last year we went down a pathway of trying a whole lot. I mean, 160 plus $1,000 on some pretty much now market research that didn't pan out the way I wanted it to. And so what do you do with that? You sit there and you go, all right. I can be pissed and mad. I can cast blame, or I can go, all right, I'm the head of the ship. Ship didn't go where I needed it to. What are we going to do? Now, the great thing was from that, something emerged that has, by our own research, been phenomenal. We've talked about it here as dark work and the concept behind it and what the value proposition is with this for folks. And it's resonating powerfully. We also found the new direction for the business coaching stuff. It's already taken off. So like there's things I run into, but for me, I know that the average person, like right now we're running ads. I think we're like, I don't know, we're trying this new stuff out. We're a good chunk of change in without having the first sale, but it's brand new. We're talking the first 13 days, and it's on something new I've never put out in the world before. I'm figuring the audience out. What's the message? It's work. It's the start of it all. Now, most people go, you're thousands in. You got to stop and try something else, right? That's what most people would do because it's scary. And I go in and I go, I know, but I'm not most people. And I know that for me, that there's an inevitability to success if you stay in the pocket. And so my current real time situation is sitting there watching money go out of the company and not really seeing exactly when or where it's going to come in. But then once it does, we can learn, refine. Now I'm not going to get $160,000 in. We're under five figures, right? But the idea is it's still a mortgage. It's still a car for some people. It's still a month of living for. It's money. It's real money. But I realize that I can't get scared because all of a sudden it's not happening at the speed my brain wants it to happen. It must be the speed of it's what it's supposed to happen. And so we've got great minds working on stuff, but my real time stuff is navigating that and going, hey, you want to jump out of ship, but stay in the ship, man. Because once this thing gets figured out, it's going to be a speedboat.
Mm. And is it a daily practice for you? Do you find it easy just to maintain this level of like intensity and this belief in your future self that you're going to be able to do this and you are going to be able to? Is it a daily practice or is it
Yeah.
just so a part of the identity that it can run
No,
in
I
the
mean,
background?
it's a practice that becomes part of the identity, right? Because the identity was designed based off of the actions I took. And so my logic tells me in real time, maintain the actions. That's real. I think there's so much that is inside of our ability to do things if we can just structure our days and do the thing on our structure. Just structure it properly and then do it. I mean, it's really it. It's I wish that people would stop trying to find some secret tool or whiz bang. There isn't one. It's just do hard work. That's it. There isn't one. Now you should do strategic hard work, right? Spend some time thinking, but even getting the strategy down is hard. I have taken programs and courses where people get into it. I just finished one. I just finished one. I was like, I want to try a new marketing direction. So I picked up the thing and invested about 10,000 into it and started rolling, and I am off to the races. I am, like I told you, I'm 14 days into launching. It's an 8-week process to get to launch. There are people still stuck at day two, like week two, still. And I don't know how they're doing it, but all I do know is like what somewhere in there, the strategy to think through something and just it got too hard. So I have the same amount. I have less time. I've trained my wife's track team. I trained my son and his team. I train my daughter. I run my business. I still do speeches. I'm trying to get my pilot's license. I'm doing a lot of stuff. But I also, when it's time to sit down, it says, hey, from 2 to 4 o'clock, this is your thing. From 2 to 4 o'clock, I'm doing the thing. Most people go, this is hard. They don't say it. They scroll and they look around and they go take a snack break and they go watch Netflix. I got to catch up on that show, and then I'll do it after the show. It never gets done because they can't stay in the pocket and do the hard stuff. And so for me, you ask like, yeah, how is it hard to maintain this? It's not, because the interesting thing is after a while, where it's hard to do it at first, it becomes so in line with who you are. And we as humans have such a desire and pull for alignment that eventually it becomes hard not to do it because it's who I am to do it. I won't feel comfortable in my skin if I don't get that thing done. And so that's the nuance that people don't realize exists on the other side of doing things long enough, which is if I stay in this pocket long enough, I'm going to get to a level where it's going to be so ingrained in my soul to do this that it will feel out of character and gross to not do it.
Do you have a why?
Yeah, man. My why is my future, my kids. I think my kids are the thing that drive me the most because I didn't have a me. If that makes sense, they have a dad, they have a me. I didn't have that guy the same manner. I have a foster dad, right? Good dude, but I didn't have the same me, and so I want my kids to like have this thing like at school right now. What happens is my kids come home and go, "Hey, one of my classmates wants to know if he could have your autograph, Dad." And I think that there's something to that. It's because I played football and did the Ninja Warrior stuff. It's all good and well, but the reality is like my kids have a person they can be proud of, and I never want them to have this situation where like the other shoe drops. Like, oh, that was really our dad, because they're right. Other kids, they're gonna grow, and my oldest is growing into his world as a man, but he has a dad who he can. This is my mom. This is my dad. Like his mom is running track as fast as the girls that he's running with at his college. Right, she's beastie, and I still do my thing. I hop on stages. I do my thing, and so my kids have somebody to lead the way to create. I'll call it financial opportunities for them when it comes time to chase their own dreams, but also to grow them. And I never want them to have anybody ever in their life go like, "Oh, who's your dad?" And they go, "Anthony Trucks," and they go, "Oh, I heard about that guy." Like that would break my soul. So my why to stay on track, to build, to grow, to be an example, it's my kids, man. Genuinely, not just from the what people say kind of thing. This is a rooted sense there. Because at the end of it all, man, I'll have met a lot of people, done a cool thing, did these podcasts, people enjoy it. And believe me, I absolutely love the impact I make in the world. But it pales in comparison to what I want to have happen in my own home.
Mm, that is beautiful. There was a phrase you said that was I'll never know the warmth that you'll never know what the warmth you're giving your kids is because you
Yeah, I'll
never
never
got it
know.
from yeah.
I'll never know life from their experience. I get to experience their like their childhood, their feeling of childhood. I can never really grasp it. There's no way because I didn't live it. Right? I could try, but I get to experience it from the other side of the coin, the other side of the mirror. But yeah, no, I'll never know their life, and that's okay. I mean, I don't feel bad about that. I'm glad I get to provide it for them, but I do get to have my own experience of it from this side to have dad in the house, mom in the house. Like it's got to be something pretty cool, man.
Mm. And is that healing or is it been painful at times?
I don't think it's ever been painful. I think because I'm still able to experience it, right? There's not that. pain to it. I wouldn't call it, but I definitely realize that it's something unique and different. But yeah, it's no, it doesn't ever root me in a funny way or make me kind of question or be envious or resentful. No, it's fun because I do know how bad it could be, and they never have to experience that. So for me, it's good.
Yeah, I just want to say this next bit. I just want to say thank you to you for because the biggest compliment I can give is that I genuinely think I will be a better man and father because of listening and reading your work, and that is something that I'll just be eternally grateful for. Because, but why? I guess what is it that makes you want to be so vulnerable to the world and want to speak your truth and to because not many people that look like yourself that were professional athletes that real would you say the most masculine like looking of men that it's not often you see them speaking with the vulnerability emotion and empathy that
Yeah.
you do. What was it that made you want to do that?
I don't know if it was a wanted to do it. To be honest, I don't think it was a want. I think it came to a point where it was like it was the next thing on the list that I thought I was being compelled to go to. Part of it was for me catharsis wise, like to get things out felt good. There was something to the feeling of positivity when somebody goes, "Man, I appreciate you sharing that because I'm battling it and thought I was alone." So there's a genuine pull that feels good when somebody out in the rest of the world gives you praise. Because I didn't have that growing up. I didn't have praise from the world growing up. It was all the complete opposite. So for me, having that feels really good. And then at this point in time, it's kind of like this. So at the end of my podcast, I asked the question, what promise did God make to the world when he created you? And I think part of the promise is having to think into what's the thing that you're supposed to be doing, right? There's a knowing and there's a what I'm doing. There's always these two different things. Like I may want to go and sit down and watch a TV show. I'm into this show 1899 right now. I'm coming to the end. It seems pretty intriguing. But that's what I want to do. But there's also something where I know I'm supposed to be doing something, right? And that separation is something key. And so whenever I look at what I'm supposed to be doing, I I can't figure out what else I might do in this world with my life. Like I had craziness as a kid. I have these weird skill sets of communication. I have an insatiable desire to learn things. I can talk. I can organize my thoughts. I'm tech savvy and I'm weird in ways that aid my ability to take an idea to market pretty quickly. I have a passion to help people. It's weird, and it's not like a thing where I do it where everybody sees. There's so much that I do behind the scenes the world never knows and will never know. I want no one to know because it's my thing for the people I'm helping. But that for me is just like I can't see this guy behind a desk entering Excel spreadsheets in for some guy's insurance company. I just don't see that. I don't know where that. So for me, it's like not only is it something that I feel called to do, I also have a great deal of enjoyment and joy that comes from doing it also.
Mm. And are you imagining almost like your younger self or anyone that's maybe reached out? When you really have to push yourself, are you imagining how influential hearing yourself would have been at that younger age? Is that a part
Yeah.
of the process?
At times, for sure. I mean, not everything, but at times there's definitely that window where I sit back and go, there's something that happens for the kids. They get to hear from somebody who went through what I went through because they won't listen to anybody else. Most of those kids, they won't listen to you because you didn't go through their childhood. And I get it because I was that kid. Like, if you don't get me, I'm not going to listen to you. So when I can go in and talk to them, there's something that happens there. And there are a lot of those kids I talk to, man, a lot. And some of it takes some time to get in because every adult they've been around has always kind of burned them or had some ulterior motive. I don't have that. I need nothing from these kids. Nothing. And I don't even need to take a picture to put on the internet. I don't need anything from you. And so for me, it's just like hoping that I do something that you could pay forward, right? That in some point in time in the future, I may never know, but that kid goes out and does something good for somebody else because it was done for him. And that's all I can ask or her. But that's it, man. That's the way this world should work though. I think we live in this world where so many people want to be seen in a certain way. And look what I did, that they only get fulfillment from somebody praising them for the thing they did. But what if you got fulfillment from just the thing you did?
Yeah, that's beautiful. And what are some of the things you've noticed or realizations you've had when speaking to some of these children about how they're viewing the world or their views on the world that are maybe holding them back, or what do you try and shift in their thinking to to help them be more open to the world and help and everything?
That's a personal experience and journey. All I know I do tell them is like at the end of the day, there are great people who care about you. You got to find these people and do the best you can to let them help you. But I also know that there's a piece to them that feels shameful and inadequate. And this is everybody. But the reality is all these things that have happened that were hard, difficult, you didn't do well in, man, they were necessary. In fact, the way that I see it, these kids and anybody who's gone through hardship, like it's a superpower. Because I have a painting on my wall, and I gotta find a way to get a picture of this so I can show. I tell people it's here, but no one's probably ever seen it. But there's this painting that says, "Smooth seas never made skilled sailors." It's a straightforward thing that people don't understand is those rough seas, they were necessary to develop your skill sets to navigate rough seas. So when something similar arises again, you don't have to experience the same ride as you did last time. You can do a better thing this time around. And so for me, these kids who experience hardships and the difficulty, a lot of them are falling on their face and they're getting angry and they're sad and they're mad and they feel shameful. And I go, no, man, when you get to be an adult, you're going to handle stuff so much easier. Like for me, I'm almost 40, and there are things that happen to people that are my, you know, age, exact same age, that shut them down for weeks, sometimes months. And I look at that and I go, how in the world did that even stop you for 5 minutes? Now that's my Anthony brain, but when I stop and get the logic, I go, you know what? It's because it didn't have anything hard happen like that. But for me, it's like I've been through stuff, man. I've seen some stuff, you know, they say. And so because I've seen it, I've navigated and I go, all right, this is like that. I beat that. Let's go to work. And I can step in a different mentality. Therefore, when everybody else is getting stopped in the mud, I'm sprinting on top of the water. It's just a different way of approaching life.
One thing I want to go to, because this is something that I know a lot of young men and and just fathers to be is for someone that doesn't have
Mhm.
kids. What is fatherhood like, and how did it change you?
That's a great question, man. I'm trying to think of a way to frame that up and sum it up. It's essentially like a part of your body is away from your body all the time and you can't control it. It just it's doing dumb stuff. It's amazing because you get to live and feel and experience, true, genuine joy in a sense of separate from you. Because it's one thing to have your own success, but to help somebody else get their success, that's a whole different level of positive and joy, and it's someone you get to be engaged in their whole entire life. You know, my son right now is running track up at college. It's awesome to watch him do his thing, like, I have a blast, like, vicariously living through him, not in a stance of I need to have him win or succeed because I did my thing. I played, right? I did NFL ball. I'm good. I don't have to have any more accolades. But it's fun to watch him do his thing and talk and call, and I can give him some insight because as humans, we like to be of use. We want to be of use to other humans. It's just a weird thing to us all, but not weird. It's what we are. And so it's cool to be able to watch and sit and see how he navigates the flow of it all, and then and have fun as a parent watching it go down. It's also scary because what if something happens to him and you can't protect him? So it's the most delicate thing in the world, man. It's always every single day on the precipice of amazing joy and success or the ultimate sadness.
And what does being a good father mean to you? What attributes is it? What do you try? How do you try and show up as a
Ah,
father?
man, if you just it's presence and care. If you are present, it's something special. Just being present is period. And I don't mean being in the room. I mean being present, talking, having a relationship, communicating like I'm communicating to you. Some people they spend more time connected with people like this on podcasts than their own children. It's kind of crazy. So I think being present, asking questions, being involved with them, like that's really the key to it. And then if you're doing that, care. Because you could do that and also be like, go get me a beer and shut up over there and fix my whatever. You could be a punk, but you could also be phenomenally careful. And if you are caring and you're present, I don't know what else is 100% necessary. You'll obviously feed them, that kind of, but if you care, you'll feed them. If you care, you'll love them, right? So presence and care. And if you can do that, you'll have everything you need.
And what are some of the ways that what are some of the lessons that you've learned over the years that you're trying to teach your children, or what are the main lessons you hope your children take on and embed in their own lives?
Yeah. I mean, in the caring part of it, I care enough to tell them and teach them things, right? So they need to be able to do hard things. That's the key. Uh, I'm trying to distill it down to the simplest aspects. All the things that we have to do, communication, responsibility, discipline, all of that. It's hard. It's just hard. And there's, no matter what it is, an emotional connection to hard. And if I can give my kids anything, it's to seek out hard things. That's it. Find something and do it almost for its difficulty so you can master it because it doesn't stay difficult. Nothing is forever difficult. It was difficult the first time you had to ride your bike, but now you can pop wheelies and ride jumps. It might have been difficult the first time the pilot got in the plane, but now he could do turns and spins and flips and zero G dive, right? Everything, it starts hard. But if you avoid hard or you jump out because it's hard, your life gets really hard. And so for me, all the things that I'm doing with my kids, like how do I get them to experience hard things and then not be afraid of them?
And what are some of the hard things you think they should do? Or what are some of the hard things that you've tried to get them to do just out of interest?
I think physicality is a part of it, training their bodies. I think there's such an intimate connection to your brain and your body that when you physically feel pain because it burns, whatever it is, to push into that kind of hard, that one I think you can extract and reapply and, like, I don't know, the hard to do a paper late at night, the hard to go and get a new job and apply, right? There's a hard that is emotional, but man, that thing is built up heavily when you can sit there in a set and go, all right, I got 10 reps of this. I'm barely got breath. My arms are already burning. I got 5, 4, 3. Let's do it. And I lean in and I borderline kill myself and I puke and I die. But when I get done, while I'm on the ground and I'm breathing and it's cold outside and there's steam come out of my lungs and I'm just, my heart rate's crazy high, man, do I feel like a superhero. Like that's a different, but you had to earn that. That kind of hard trickles into every part of your life.
And how I want to finish the podcast is just touch upon the point of the reason why I started this podcast is there are a lot of men struggling to deal with their emotions
Mhm.
and to understand their own mental health and living in their own brains. They're fighting these internal battles that they just don't know how to one, win the internal battles, know how to go into these battles, and even thinking that they are a battle in themselves. And it's causing horrific rates of suicide. And what do you think? What do you think is causing some of the mental health crisis in men in particular that's causing some of these horrible
Yeah.
outcomes?
I think there's two things, man. I think that there is, it's not gonna be sexy, but I think that people are weak. People are weaker nowadays, mentally and emotionally than they used to be. And I think that there is a crutch they get to lean on called mental health. Now, my wife has a business that works with individuals that have mental health issues, right? It's just 100% what it exists. It exists, but it sometimes uses a crutch because something's too hard. Oh, I'm taking a mental health day, and like I get that if you really got to do it, but the truth is, what your level of mental health is you're experiencing something that's normal in life. Therefore, if every single day of your life you're experiencing something and you've put it into the pocket of it's damaging my mental health, you might as well live in a box because every time you come out, you're going to be jabbed and you're not going to be strong enough to handle this difficult situation. And again, I take nothing from the fact that some people do need a ton of help and they have genuine issues. But I think everybody is now trying to lean into that. And the world's telling them you got to support, that's what it is. It's okay. I'm an advocate for that. And I get that. But where are the advocates for do hard things? I don't know where those advocates exist. I mean, there's some, there's a few, but there's Goggins is one of them, right? But you don't see people around him having mental health days. When you read his book, you don't, and it's not to say that it doesn't exist again, but I am saying there is something to giving yourself the strength to where something like that does not make you break anymore.
And is part of that mental strength being able to go after a situation? Look, I can't handle this. This is I don't know how to handle this situation. Being vulnerable, is that part of doing the hard things?
Yeah, it is 100%. Sometimes admitting you're not great at it is hard for a lot of people. Their ego doesn't want anyone to see them sweat, so they don't. They don't express. They don't ask for help. They just sit there, or they don't have courage to face something that's difficult. So you never get the success that gives you the strength. That's how it is. It's not we as human beings. It's funny as in all the history of our being, right? We've always done hard things. Men used to climb these crazy buildings with no safety straps and carry these beams, and they built the infrastructure of our entire existence. Yet those men don't exist today, and we wonder why our world is falling to shambles. Those were the men put on pedestals that were honored. Was it perfect in every aspect? No, right? There's a lot of things societally, laws, racism that wasn't great, but we had strong men and women, and they built something cool. I don't know what we're building anymore. Like I know we're doing technology that's always great, but like we're builders, man. Like we were created to build things, and we aren't building the same way because we aren't strong like we used to be. And I think we have to find that back within ourselves somehow to be able to push forward and create an even better future for all of us.
Thank you, Anthony. We'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much for coming on. Anyone that's listening, you need to get the book. You need to listen to the podcast. You need to jump into his world. Thank you so much for coming on and just having such an amazing conversation and being so open. So thank you.
Welcome, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.